today, because last time it just wasn't happening at all. So, good morning, Instagram. Good morning, Facebook. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a really, really good Saturday. For those of you that don't know me, my name is June Allen from juneallen.net, and I teach Black women how to heal from addiction to self-hate with racial sobriety and personal empowerment. So, good morning. So, today's topic is all about 3 ways to detach with love. Now, this is really, really important to me because I've been focusing quite a lot on the topic of stress, and a lot of people don't always equate stress with with the internal stuff that goes on, and the how attachment plays a role in stress, the internal stuff. So a lot of it's about somebody else stressing you or whatever. So I wanted to really have this conversation. Morning, Rob. How are you? I hope you're okay. Um, so yes, I basically wanted to talk about attachment and stuff today. But before we do that, I want to get into I just want to go through some housekeeping. So next Saturday, which is the 7th of March, is the book club. Book club. Bell Hooks, Sisters of the Am, Black Women in Self Recovery. Love this book. And next Saturday's session is all about racial stress. Hence why I'm doing a lot of these lives at the moment, talking about different aspects of stress. And so if you live in London, it's 5 minutes from Bond Street. And if you're not able to make it, if you don't live in London and you're not able to make it, it's important to realised that I actually do recordings. I do audio recordings, and I do heart work, which is kind of like journal prompts and stuff like that, to help people dig deeper into the text and to start, continue the conversation after actually we do the first the live session. So if you're interested in that, you can click the link in the bio, go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net to get your information there. So this is not just an ordinary book club. It is important to continue the conversation. I know a lot of times people will go to Sister Circle. They will go to Sister Circle different things. Sorry, just bear with me 1 second. Okay, just had a troll on there. A lot of people go to the sister circles, and they go to the event, they talk about stuff, they share all of that kind of stuff. Hi, thanks for joining. But they still find it difficult to, what happens when they go home? What happens when they go home after they've done all of that? They're kind of left with their thoughts and their feelings. They don't always know how to manage their own thoughts and feelings, what comes up actually inside the session. So one of the reasons why this book club is so different is the conversation continues after the actual live. There's a private Facebook group as well, where we can continue the conversation. Also a private WhatsApp group which is active as well, where people share thoughts and whatever. It's just an opportunity just to continue the conversation. I don't want to kind of do the live sessions and then kind of disappear for another month. So it is important to include that in there. So that's one of the reasons why why the book club is important, and why it's so different from other book clubs or sister circles that you may have been involved in. So it's all about racial wellness. It's all about understanding the impact of racism and stuff like that. So next week should be quite an interesting session, because I hear a lot of people that talk about how stressed they get, and also there's for a lot of us as Black people, there's a lot of underlying stress that we have to deal with. So yeah, those sorts of conversations are all going to come up in the session. So I'm quite looking forward to hanging out. It's been quite a while since we've had a book club, because I've not been very well, and then January was very busy. People were away or doing other things, and so it just feels like ages since I've seen some of the regular sisters that come to the session. So so I'm really grateful. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody next Saturday. So if you can make it live, then obviously click the link in the bio, heal.juneallen.net, and get your ticket for that. So that's housekeeping number one. Housekeeping number two is that Mother's Day is coming up next March. I think it's the last weekend of March, Mother's Day in the UK. And so I really wanted to. Last year, I did a kind of boot camp for people to, kind of work through the difficult relationship that they have with their mum and stuff like that. So I want to do something similar this year. It may not be like a 6 week, mastermind like I did last year. I might do something a bit. I'm not 100% sure, but I do want to do something. So if you've got a challenging relationship with your mum, maybe you don't have any contact with your mum, maybe you do have a relationship with your mum, but it's very strained and very stressful. If you go to heal.juneallen.net, there is a link in there that will take you to a page for you to register your interest for the workshop or boot camp or whatever I decide to do around that. It's going to be very gentle. It's going to be a lot more focused on self-parenting rather than talking, rather than kind of rehashing, what traumas or whatever you might have with your parent. I really want to help you to stay focused on your own stuff. So if you're interested in that, go to heal.juneallen.net. So that's the housekeeping number 2. So for those of you that have just joined, we're now going to get into the content. So if you know someone who's interested in this topic, if you know somebody that has a difficult relationship with a family member or friends or whatever, and you think that they might get something out of this conversation, then share it with them. So there's three things. There's three things that I request of people that come into my broadcast and engage. If there's number one, if there's something that you don't understand, then by all means drop your comments and stuff in the drop your comments below if you feel confident enough to do that. If you're not obviously I understand that this is a public platform, and if you don't want to kind of drop your comments or questions in the actual comments, send me a direct message and I can obviously answer your questions and stuff there. So that's number one. Number two, obviously, I've said that before, but if you know someone that's struggling and needs this information, then share it with them. And the third thing as well is, like, let me know if there's stuff that I'm talking about that resonates with you. If there's something that that you identify with or whatever, let me know, because I need to know that I'm on the right track as I'm teaching this stuff. So they're the three requests that I have. So yeah, so now we're going to get into the content tea. Yeah, so today is 3 steps to learning how to detach with love. Now, detaching with love is something that is really important for us, because it's difficult, because a lot of us, we found ourselves feeling quite stressed about the whole concept of attachment to other people. And quite often that's because a lot of us had, maybe grew up in homes that didn't feel safe, or in relationships that don't feel safe. So we ended up in situations where, we find ourselves being attached to people that just feels uncomfortable. Being in relationship feels uncomfortable. And that was actually what got me into this whole healing process in the first place. I was very addicted to relationships with people that were unavailable. I was addicted to people that were not good for me. I was addicted to people that were abusive. And that was really hard. So for me, attachment was something that was very, very difficult. So the whole concept of being able to detach with love is something that I've had to learn over the years, and that has been really, really useful for me in terms of keeping myself safe, and as an act of self-love, as an act of revolutionary self-love. I'm not going to put up with being in relationships with people that are not respectful of my needs, or that are respectful of who I am as a person, because they're in their own pain. That's not my responsibility. So it was important for me, as part of my healing process, to understand, first of all, my own attachment process, in order to start to do the detachment process with the people who were not good for me. So yeah, it's important to understand. Hi Candice, thanks for joining. It's important to also understand that, attachment and the whole anxiety around the stuff that I was just talking about, our body talks to us. Our body talks to us when the whole thing around attachment and stuff comes up, and the need to detach, detach. Actually, a lot of us know when we need to detach from somebody that's not good for us, because our body speaks to us. We feel anxious. We feel emotional pain. We feel shut down. We feel anxious when we're going into situations that might feel uncomfortable for us. So it is important for us to be able to listen to our bodies first and foremost when we're doing this stuff around detachment. It may be, as a result of living under the system of racism, that you find yourself in, work relationships that feel stressful, so that your detachment might need to come from a workspace or something like that. Or it might be an even deeper level, that the external stuff around, being in white spaces that feel stressful is one thing, but also feeling stressful inside your own black body because of everything that's happened in childhood, or being in spaces that don't feel safe. You might just feel uncomfortable in your own black body because of that. So the whole idea of, detachment and detaching with love, you first really got to understand, what is at the root of the pain of the attachment in the first place. What is it about that particular relationship, be it with yourself or with a family member or with friends or whatever it is? You've got to be able to be clear with yourself and honest with yourself. What is it about that relationship that is painful, before you can actually detach? So the 3 steps to detaching with love is, number 1 is, you've got to focus on healing your own healing, rather than trying to change other people. And this is the trap that I see over and over and over again with this healing process. A lot of us get so confused and obsessed and trapped in trying to get the other person to change, be it trying to get white people to change, if we're talking about under the system of racism, or if it's a family member that's being, abusive or whatever. It's trying to get that family member to change their behavior, thinking that if we behave a certain way, that somehow that person is going to change their behavior. The whole thing about detachment is understanding, first and foremost, that we can't change other people, and it's not our responsibility to change other people. We have to focus on our own healing, because what happens is, when you start to focus on your own healing, you start to focus on your own process, then you really start to build up a lot more of your own self-worth and self-esteem. And then you begin to understand that, actually, this person, I can still love this person, but it doesn't mean that I have to allow them to treat me in a way that's abusive or harmful to me. So focusing on your own healing is all you've got that's all you've got control of anyway. You have no control over other people. You can only control how you react to that other person. So in order to detach from that person, you've got to start building up your own self-esteem. You've got to start doing your own internal work. You've got to, create a space on a daily basis to be able to connect with who you are, to connect with your feelings, to connect with your needs, all of that kind of stuff. And this is what we do in the, why the book club and stuff is so important, why that sister space is so important. Because a lot of the sisters tell me that, they do feel unsafe in might feel really unsafe at work, working around other white people that feel, that kind of trigger their anxiety or whatever. And we've had lots of conversations as well about people in, sisters within their families and stuff. They feel unsafe, that they don't feel necessarily unsafe externally. It's the internal stuff within their families that feel unsafe. And that's where they struggle. That's where they struggle to detach. It's where they struggle to kind of set boundaries around family members. That's why it's important to focus on your own stuff, because once you realize that your own healing and stuff is really important, and once you realize what your feelings are and what your needs are around certain situations, and that you're coming out of denial around the stuff that's going on, that's when you can really start to make choices to detach. So yeah, it's important for you to understand and focus on your own healing first, before you can decide how you're going to move forward. The second step in detaching with love is, spend time with people that are going to empower you. Spend time with other people that are doing the work. Spend time with people that understand your story. A lot of times with this work, with the thing that I was saying before about family members, is that a lot of people they're not ready to do this work. They can't do this work. They don't understand this work. So they're the first ones to tell you that you can't detach, that you can't set boundaries around family members, that somehow you're supposed to put up with it all just because you're related to them. And the truth about this is that we've really got to remember that there are a lot of people in our community that are unwell. There are a lot of community that are trapped in their own pain, and it's not our responsibility to change that behaviour. We can only change ourselves. We can only change how we respond to those things. So being around other people that are doing the same work, that understand, that you can identify, is a huge relief. And this is something that I learned very early on when I started going through my recovery process, and why the whole process of being around other people doing the same thing is so powerful. Because you don't feel like you're going crazy. You don't feel like you're going crazy because other people are in similar situations. You don't feel, your kind of the feelings of guilt and stuff that you feel around setting boundaries around family members and stuff like that. You can, that stuff tends to dissipate, because you understand that actually the way that they manage their pain is their business, and that you're not, that you don't have to stay in those situations, and that there are other things that you can do to kind of protect yourself at the same time. um, and one of the things that that I learned from from being around other people is that I have to shift my any expectations or fantasies that I had around what it means to be around family members that just can't show up. A lot of family members can't show up, but I had to learn to sit in the reality of what it means to be in those relationships, and actually find a common ground, a safe way for me to be in those relationships without making myself vulnerable. So it might be, as an example, that those relationships become a lot more kind of, I hate to say it, but just kind of a lot more business-like, that you don't go deep into certain things with them because they can't hear you, or they just don't understand. Or it might be that you spend less physical time with them. You only give yourself half an hour to kind of check in with them, as opposed to spending the whole afternoon and then going home feeling traumatized and upset, and just really devastated by how by the experience. And that comes with time. That really does come with time. And when you have an outlet, be it a support group or a recovery group or a therapist or whatever it is, and you're around other people that are empathetic and understand your situation, I found that I was less, I craved the kind of approval and that space within my family a lot less, because I had a safe space to be able to share that stuff. I didn't need to keep exposing myself to being vulnerable to family situations that just felt uncomfortable for me. Once I had another safe space to be able to do so, essentially I was able to build um, a family, or an environment, a network that was going to help me to be able to process stuff, and to attach to. Because one of the most important things that you have to remember about detaching with love is that it's important to have a safe space to attach to. Once you've got a safe space that you can attach to, it's going to be a lot easier for you to detach from the situation that is not healthy for you. Because as human beings, we have a natural human need to be connected to other people, to be to belong in certain groups. And so if you try to detach from a situation, or detach from family members, without actually having a support network to be able to attach to in a healthy way, you're going to find yourself, it's going to be a lot more painful. You may find yourself getting dragged back into the dysfunction in the family. You may find it difficult to take care of yourself. You're going to feel a lot of guilt. You're going to feel a lot of, it's all the stuff that's going on in your head around this stuff is going to be so much more difficult if you don't have a support network. So spending time with people that can actually hear you, that understand, that identify, that have been through the same thing, is so important. And that is the reason why the workshop that I'm going to be doing next Saturday is so important, because you need to be able to be around other people where you can share and not be judged. Because quite often in family situations, it's hard to show up and speak about what you really think and how you feel, because you're afraid of, maybe they're going to shame you or silence you, or whatever. There's roles that we all have, and a lot of dysfunctional families, there's roles that we have to play, and a lot of it's unconscious. Um, and so that kind of, it creates a situation where we feel afraid to speak up, we feel afraid to show up for ourselves, because we want to step out of those roles that we've kind of grown up in. So having another environment, another space, and I know sometimes it feels hard to speak up and to show up in spaces that you're not used to, but give yourself time. Go to a few of the sessions until you feel comfortable, until you feel comfortable to share. Listen to how they speak to each other. Listen to the sessions, play out. Do you feel safe? Do you feel do other people feel safe sharing, and stuff like that, and then you can kind of gauge as you feel safe enough to do so. So yeah, it's so important to spend time with other people that are doing this work, because then it just means that you're able to, eventually you'll find a space where you're able to open up. If you would like a taste actually of the workshop, I'm now if you go to heal.juneallen.net, there is actually the first lot of journal prompts and audios that I've created for people to get a taste. So if you go to the link in the bio and go to the Sister Circle page, you can get that absolutely free. So you'll get the first set of journal prompts, which helps you to explore your black femininity, your racial wellness, all that kind of stuff. And they're also talks you through the questions, and another audio just helps you just genuinely to explore. There's also videos in there as well. There's 2 videos that actually helps you to understand how to get the best out of the journal prompt, the best out of what I call heart work, and questions in a way that's going to empower you. So click the link in the bio, and you can get that ebook absolutely free with all the reflections and everything to help you get started. You're really interested, but you're not 100% sure. Yeah. So the last thing, the third step to how to detach with love is to, in the beginning I was talking about the anxiety within the body and the importance of staying connected to how your body's speaking to you. And so the last thing to be able to detach with love is to actually release that physical stuff out of your body, because the more of that anxiety that gets trapped in your body, the more difficult it is for you to be able to detach, because then you're going to be a ball and it's going to feed itself. It feeds the fear, and it's just going to be a lot more difficult for you to be able to step out of it. When you're in a situation where you're regularly releasing the anxiety, then you can think a lot more clearly. You can think a lot more clearly about what you want to do, instead of being trapped in a kind of ball of anxiety. And this is what self-love is really about. This is what racial wellness is really about. It's about understanding and being mindful of your responses, your reactions, be it physical, spiritual, emotional, psychological. Once you start to understand a lot of that stuff and how you react to a lot of these things, that's when you're really going to be able to make better choices about where the anxiety and stress is coming from. You can be clear about that, whether it's a person, whether it's a place, or whether it's a thing. You're not going to know any of that unless you're physically doing the work, unless you're doing the psychological work, unless you're being around other people that are also doing the work, because that's where your power is. That's where your power is. Your power is taking action on these small things that are really going to help you to get clear on who you are as a human being, and then being around other people, understanding what your needs are, understanding what action you need to take to stay balanced in yourself. Know thyself is not just about pyramids. It's not just about reading books and stuff like that. It's about actually doing the actions, taking the actions, which is important. That's where your power is. That's how you're going to heal. That's how you're going to be able to stand in your humanity and be compassionate with this stuff. So that's it. So they're the 3 things. I'll just quickly go over them again. So 3 steps to detaching with love is, number 1 is to stay focused on your own healing and stop trying to change other people. You cannot change other people. You can only focus on your reaction. So be it you're feeling uncomfortable in a white space, or you're feeling uncomfortable in a family space, or whether you're feeling uncomfortable in your own black skin, you've got to focus on the process. Focus on what you need to do to stay well, to stay healthy, and that includes having quiet time, doing your journaling. All that kind of stuff is so important to maintain your own wellness. So the second thing is spend time with people that champion you. Spend time with people that empower you. Spend time with people that inspire you, that are doing the work, that are committed to doing the work. Come to the book club. Come to the book club next Saturday. Be around other sisters that are also doing this work, that are committed to doing this work, and make the commitment to yourself. Make the promise to yourself. A lot of times the stress that we feel is because we're not keeping promises to ourselves. You know, we talk a lot about the stress, what other people cause us, or how we feel about living under the system of racism causing our stress. But how are you causing your own stress by denying your own needs, by not taking care of yourself, by not keeping your own promises? If you say that you're going to do something, it's important for you to take the action around it. Don't just say, oh, you know, I really want to do this work, I really want to heal, and then just go on to the next thing. You've got to make that commitment for yourself. You've got to make that commitment to yourself. There was the last sister circle that I did, I remember one of the sisters saying to me, you know, I'm really surprised that, you know, that there's not more people genuinely that kind of choose to do this work. And I said to her, there's a difference between, you know, somebody maybe liking a post or something that I've written, or said something profound, than actually getting in the trenches and actually showing up at the workshop and actually physically, emotionally, spiritually engaging and doing this work. A lot of times this work is difficult for people to do, you know, because because it's hard. You know, it's hard. But there are so many rewards. There are so many rewards from doing this work. Like, I wouldn't have it any other way. And I wouldn't be here talking to you if I wasn't doing this work, you know. So it is so important, so important to spend time with other people that are doing this work. That's what keeps you. That's what keeps me going. You know, that's what keeps me going. After I've done this live, I'm on my way to some recovery meetings. You know, I've got to stay consistent and go to my recovery meetings so I can continue to grow, so that I can continue to process my stuff, so that I can come back and practice. You know, I've got to practice what I preach. There's no point in me coming on here talking to you about stuff and then I'm not doing the same thing myself. I need to have my own spaces to be able to process and do that stuff, so that I can come back and empower you to do the same thing. That's how it works, and that's how you're going to continue to grow, by showing up. And I'm keeping that promise to myself because I now value myself. I now love myself, you know, and I want to continue to not only to be the best person that I can be, but to show up, you know, in these spaces and be the best mentor that I can be for you. And also I want to be a good parent, and I want to be a good partner and all of that kind of stuff. I want to do all of that stuff, and the only way that stuff is going to work is if I stay committed to do the work on myself. So that's number 2. You know, detaching with love is about spending time, staying committed to doing the work. Yeah. And the last thing, how to detach with love, is to pay attention to your body and physically, you know, release the fear. Because once you're physically releasing that stuff, you're not controlled by it. You're not controlled and overwhelmed by the anxiety, the fear, the anger, all of that kind of stuff. You can release that stuff in a safe way, physically, through exercise, through journaling, all that kind of stuff. And once you do that, then you're going to get a lot more clarity around what your needs are, you know, and be honest with yourself. You'll start being more honest with yourself about, you know, what is it about those relationships? What is it about that family member? What is it about being in that white space that actually makes me feel uncomfortable, that creates so much anxiety in me? And that's when you can start to then make choices about how you can change the situation, how you can protect yourself, how you can set boundaries. Yeah, so that's it. So that's it for today's session. I hope you found this session useful. If, you know, you're watching on the replay, hi, because I know there are a lot of you that do that. You know, let me know in the DMs or in the comments what's been your takeaway from this session. What is it that you've learned? What is it that you're going to take away with you today from listening to this session? If you know somebody who's interested in what I've just spoken about today, if you know someone that needs to detach, that is feeling stressed, that wants more support around this stuff, you know, share this broadcast with them. Come to the book club next Saturday. Go to heal.juneallen.net, heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. The session is 5 minutes from Bond Street, and it's from 9:30 to 11:30. So that's it for today. I hope that you have a wonderful Saturday, however you choose to spend it, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. Bye.